LSAT PrepTest 150, Section 4, Passage 1 about Wynton Marsalis and the collapse of the jazz recording industry. Fairly easy passage to follow, but there is a trap baked into the structure that does catch a lot of students. Now, this is an arts passage. It's telling you how Marsalis championed jazz history and how the music industry took that message and ran in a direction he never intended. The main point is not that Marsalis killed jazz, it's that the industry exploited his reverence for the past to justify abandoning new artists. Now, the most important paragraph is paragraph 4. That is where the author separates Marsalis' actual position from what the record labels did with it. And if you don't catch that split, you're gonna misread the whole passage. Now, paragraph 1 is pure setup. Marsalis was dominant, great player, powerful voice for jazz. But then the backlash came. Critics and musicians accused him of being too backward-looking. Notice the word neo-traditionalism. That just means he was pushing jazz to stick close to its root rather than experiment. So you get 20 years of rise and fall compressed into one paragraph. You want to read this at a pretty normal speed. It's background, but it anchors everything that follows. Paragraph 2 is the damage report. 15 CDs in 1999, then silence. No new releases, no record contract. Columbia gutted its jazz lineup. Atlantic basically walked away from new jazz entirely. Now, every detail here is doing the same job, showing you the industry-wide retreat from jazz. You don't need to memorize the label names here, just register the scale of the impact. This was not one company making a bad call, the entire business moved at once. Now, paragraph 3 is the one creating the trap here. This is where the critics get their say. They blame Marsalis directly. They say he turned jazz into a rigid, rule-bound thing. He codified it, meaning he locked it into a fixed set of standards. And there's a former Columbia exec calling it museum-like. Now you want to stop and ask, whose opinion is this? It is the critics, not the authors. The passage is just reporting the accusation. It is not endorsing it. And if you blur that line, you're going to get some attitude questions wrong. Paragraph 4 is the author's actual argument, and it has two parts. The first part defends Marsalis. He never wanted people to just copy the old masters. He used tradition as raw material and pushed it forward in his own compositions. That's the author telling you the criticism in paragraph 3 is at least partly unfair. And then the word however hits. In the second half, the record executives took away a completely different lesson. They heard Marsalis say the old masters were great, and they thought, then why are we spending money on new people? So they stopped. The author is drawing a clean line. Marsalis' intent was artistic, and the industry's response was financial. These are two different things, and the passage is looking for you to see the difference here. Then paragraph 5 drives it home with a three-way split. Young musicians looked at the jazz masters and saw inspiration. Critics looked and saw blind worship. Record companies looked and saw brands they could resell cheaply. Now, the last group is the one the author cares about the most. The economics were irresistible. It costs almost nothing to slap a new cover on an old album compared to finding and developing a new artist. And that is the real force behind the decline. It's not Marsalis' philosophy, it's just money. Now, the key move here is the gap between intention and consequence. Marsalis meant one thing, the industry did another. And so they're going to make the hardest questions here around whether you can keep those two things separate. Now, the author is sympathetic to Marsalis. They're not uncritical because the author acknowledges the backlash is real, but the author's explanation for the decline points at the record labels, not at Marsalis. The main trap here is treating paragraph 3 like it's the author's own view, but it's not. It is the prosecution's case. The author spends paragraphs 4 and 5 offering a different explanation. And if you miss that, you're going to pick answers saying the author blames Marsalis for jazz's problems, and those answers would be dead wrong. Now, before you hit the questions, you want to check yourself on 3 things. First, what does the author think Marsalis was actually trying to do? Second, why did the record companies shift to reissues? And third, can you name whose voice is speaking in paragraph 3 versus paragraph 4?